Hi everyone, I want to answer a quick question about what a strategic area is. And I invite you to open up your inductive Bible study book to page 135, and there on really one page, Bauer and Traina lay out what the definition is. But let me just key on a couple things. This is actually something fairly straightforward, and it's confused. It confuses people, but it usually confuses people for this reason. Most of the time when we talk about what's the key verse or what do we think is the most strategic passage, when you're reading, we tend to gravitate towards certain parts that we like a lot ourselves. In inductive Bible study, the key is not to just pick the passages that we like or that we think are important, but to ask the question, what did the author think was the key verse or the most important part? And we can answer that question by, once we've identified structural relationships, and presumably structure, the whole point of structure is the assumption that structural relationships point to the ways that the author has organized all the different data in a passage. So you take a strategic area then, or a key verse, is simply this. It's a smaller part of the whole that best illustrates the structural relationships that you found. So in other words, if you find 4 or 5 structural relationships, you need to have a key verse or strategic passage. Again, it's not just a verse. It depends. If you're doing like 10 verses a survey, then maybe one verse is a strategic area. If you're doing a whole chapter, it can be even a paragraph. Okay, so you want to ask, for each structural relationship that you found, what would be a smaller part of the whole that best illustrates it? So again, for example, if you find a particularization, you can either pick the general statement to serve as the strategic area or one of the particulars. If you have climax and you have identified the structural relationship of climax, I mean, the really no-brainer strategic area there is going to be what? The actual climactic passage. So if you're getting confused by strategic areas, just step back for a second and remember that the strategic area isn't what you personally like or feel or think is important. The strategic area is what the author thinks is important based on the structural relationship. So once you found a structure, ask yourself what part of the whole best illustrates this structure, and you've done that, you've identified the strategic passages. Again, I'm Brian Russell. If you have any other questions, you can follow up with me via email or through the discussion forums in the class.